Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Turning In podcast. On today's episode, Amy guides us through a pretty cool parts exploration exercise. We always talk about how IFS is all about being experiential to really actually turn in and get to know our parts. So, what a gift that we have a brilliant woman like Amy to guide us through. I really hope that you enjoy. Thank you, as always, for coming back. There are so many places that you can spend your time online in the digital world nowadays. So the fact that you continue to come back to us is something that we are extremely grateful for. With all of that, let's go ahead and get right into this 6Fs parts exploration exercise. Welcome, everyone, to the Turning In podcast. Dr. Crawford, you're here with us as usual because it's our podcast. How are you doing?
As usual. Yep. I'm doing all right. I had a fun morning already, even though it's 7:39 Mountain Time. I had a good morning. So yeah, it's great. It's a good day.
Wonderful. I have had a very lackluster morning. It's been wonderful. It's a beautiful summer day. I'm excited for the day. I'm sorry to hear that yours has maybe been a bit eventful.
Mine's been great. I've already played softball and have swung my bat, and so it's been a good morning. It's been a good day.
Oh gosh. Oh, okay. I thought you were being facetious.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's bad based on my sarcastic parts, if that's exactly where you went. No, it's been an amazing morning so far.
Oh, good. Okay, good. I was certain that something had happened or something. I was like, oh, it's great.
Yeah, no, it's like as Lucia. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
No. Go ahead. I want to hear.
Oh, I was just going to say, Lucia always says, okay, guys, something you want to celebrate that you didn't post on Instagram. So this morning was a postable Instagram morning. It was perfect. Coffee in the morning, watching the sunrise, going and batting, taking 50 swings on my new bat, throwing the ball. Great morning. I'd post that stuff on Instagram.
Oh, fun. First of all, it does sound like a lovely morning. Second of all, I love that she says, what's something that you're to celebrate that you're not going to post on Instagram? I love that, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, every night at dinner. That's what we all talk about.
Oh, I love that. That's a good slowdown. Sorry to interrupt. I'm excited to kind of get into, I don't know. I think this is going to be an interesting tool, I guess. So our last episode, you introduced the initial concept of the 6Fs, and we talked about kind of our daily skills and shouted out some places that you can find resources. And on our sort of list, we've had our own wishes to provide some resources. And so today you are going to walk us through kind of like a guided 6F exercise. You know, we talk all the time about how IFS is really experiential and you need to actually do it to understand. So I think this will be a cool resource for our listeners. And, if anybody wants to do it while you listen or turn this on at a time that might be, if you're driving, maybe you could still do it, but maybe not close your eyes or whatever, obviously.
Yeah, I'm going to actually even say while you're driving, probably don't do it. While you're walking, excellent time to do it. While you're doing yard work, great. When you're driving, probably not the best time.
Probably not a good idea. And before we get started, and I'm sure that you'll have more to kind of say about this, but we'll do a little bit of a sort of disclosure, if you will, that you're not trying to do therapy. Like, this is not a substitute for therapy. This isn't something where maybe you should go to the most, highest intensity part, which is something you can kind of speak on a little bit more. Amy is a therapist, but for all intents and purposes, this is not you getting to do therapy with Dr. Amy Crawford, which is what I know a lot of people want, but this is nobody signed a consent to treat. So we are not providing therapy. Do you have anything else that you want to add to that, like formally or?
I think you said it right. Just this isn't therapy. There may be a therapeutic benefit to your system from doing this, and it's not meant to be therapy or replace therapy. It's just really exercise to help you begin connecting with a part you've chosen. And if you choose to engage in this guided exercise, I'd really invite you to choose a part of you that maybe you know a little bit already, but in particular, one that does not have a huge intensity. So we're talking maybe an intensity of like 4 or less, right? So not this part that's like jumping out of your skin, ready to like scream at the world because it's so strong. So I'd say, 4 or 5 or less intensity would be a good place to start. And the 6 Fs are meant to really just be a sort of formalized, linear, not linear roadmap of sorts to begin connecting with your parts. And in IFS, the 6 Fs are meant, in particular, we start almost every session with the 6 Fs, but this is also a roadmap for how we can check in with our parts in the moment, either reactively when a part is showing up reactively and or proactively. You know, as we mentioned in the morning check-in little episode, like what I do with my parts, I do kind of an abbreviated version of this, if you will, if there's a part that needs more attention. So the 6 Fs really meant for protective parts of us, our firefighters and managers. However, at any point in the model, when we're beginning to connect with a new part, regardless of whether it's a protector or an exile, we are engaging in the 6 Fs. So if you choose to do this exercise, I would invite you to choose a protector. If you're not sure what that is, think of it more as maybe a behavior of yours that parts of you engage in or a feeling that you're experiencing, not a part of you that's carrying a deep sensitive wound. That would be probably better saved for therapy. And so, so I think that was a long-winded addendum.
No, I think that that's important too, because we've talked about it in the past, and I'm guilty of it too, where it's like, if something's going on, I want to like get to the core, you know, and that's not IFS, it's pace and tempo, right? And that's another part usually. And for all, like I said, for all intents and purposes, this is meant to be a tool and a resource, you know, a turning in tool and resource amongst all of the many and plethora of beautiful resources out there for you guys to just explore and get to know. So with that, Amy.
One thing I do. Sorry, Megan.
No, go ahead.
One thing else I do want to add is that since obviously Megan and I aren't actively sitting with somebody engaging in the 6 Fs, your system may need longer than what we're allowing the space in between the Fs. So please listen to whatever you need as you engage in this exercise, assuming all of your parts are consenting to engage in this exercise. And feel free to pause at any point to allow space and expansion for whatever you're hearing or getting from your system as you pose these questions.
Thank you for saying that. That's important because we're going to give, you know, some allotment of time and space in between each question, obviously, because we do want it to sort of be a guided experience, but you may need to pause because you have something come up, or you have another protector come up that you need to like restart almost, you know, the 6 Fs with, or ask for space or whatever. So that was definitely an important. Okay, well, with that, I'm going to turn the mic on over to you, Amy, and let's get guided.
All right, let's get guided. So if it feels right to your system, go ahead and just begin connecting with your breath, perhaps deepening your exhales, breathing in a nice clean inhale, allowing it to usher through your system. Checking in and seeing if there's any areas in your body that perhaps need to bring some intentional movement, or, as my daughter says, get the wiggles out. Just see if there's any place that needs a little bit of movement. And as you deepen your connection to your breath and into your body, really getting into your felt sense, as we land in our time together, just begin noticing if there's something perhaps you're aware of within your system that you'd like to get to know today. That can be a thought, physical sensation, a behavior, maybe something that's been bothering you, a feeling. And as you land on something that you would like to explore, just notice if there are any concerns about getting to know this part of you. If there are concerns, that's indicative that there are other parts perhaps showing up that have some fears or anxiety or whatnot around the piece of work you're about to do. There may even be parts of you that are excited to get to business. They may have an agenda. So just notice if there's any energy around concerns or excitement in choosing this target part that you'd like to explore today. And if there are, just see if those can soften back, giving a little bit of space or distance. And if they are unwilling to, perhaps one of them needs to become your target part. And if it feels as though there's clean access to the target part, go ahead and just begin by finding this target part in or around your body. How are you aware of this part, and how is it showing up for you right now? How are you sensing or experiencing it as you find this part in or around your body? And just notice as you focus your attention in on this part, what is it you recognize? What is it you're noticing or aware of, and how this part's showing up? Perhaps if this part had words, what would it say to you? Being cautious not to bring your analytical part's voice in, but really hearing perhaps what this part has to say. Does this target part have a color, shape, or energy? Just really focus in and notice however this part's showing up for you. Really trying to get it from the part itself. And as you focus on this part, just notice, how are you feeling towards this part? the you that doesn't carry the energy of this part, the you that doesn't carry the pain, you and your highest self. And as you identify a feeling or a state of being or energy, just notice if that feeling comprises one of those elements or similar qualities of self. Is there curiosity, compassion, calm, or perhaps there's something a little bit more sharp or edged, such as frustration or annoyance or sadness? If it is the latter, that lets us know that we have other parts showing up in response to this target part. If that's the case, spend a bit of time seeing if you can unblend a bit from those other parts, asking them if they would be willing to give you a little bit of space or distance, even just a step or two away. They can stay close if they need to. If they are unwilling, you may want to check and see what is it they need to feel a little bit safer or trusting to stay with the target part. If they are in fact willing to give space, or if you are able to access some glimmer of self when posed with the question of how do you feel towards this part, go ahead and extend in the fullness in which you're experiencing it, whatever quality of self you are to this part. Just really let this part know that you're feeling a sense of compassion or tenderness or open-heartedness, curiosity, open-hearted curiosity. Letting the part know that you're here just to get to know it, nothing more. You're not here to change it. You're not here to get to the bottom of what it's trying to do. You're just here to acquaint yourself to it. And some people like to think of it as shining a light onto this part, a light of love, or extending a golden thread of self to the part, just really creating a connection, letting this part know that you're there and that your intention is really just to get to know it. Perhaps even extending some self-energy to this part through your breath, if that feels right to you. And as we continue to befriend this part, deepening the self to part relationship, just notice, how is this part responding as you extend some of these qualities of self to it? Is it able to receive some of that? And as you notice this, just see, is this part aware of your presence? And in that, the presence of you today in this moment, does it actually know who you are? Does it know your age? Does it see you in the light of today? If this part is struggling to know who's extending this form of self-energy, now could be a really valuable time to update it, to let it know who you are. Not in some performative BS kind of rainbows and glitter way, but just in a very honest, fact-based capacity of, hey, this is me. I'm the adult in the room. Share perhaps your age, a little bit about your current standing in life. Just taking your time to do so, to really be with this part, to let it know who you are. And as you either introduce yourself or reintroduce yourself to this part, just notice, is it trusting that you're here to get to know it better? Nothing more, no agenda, but truly just befriending it as you would a new acquaintance. Continue taking your time to be with this part in a way that feels right, both for the part and for you, allowing the two-way connection of self to part and part to self really begin to become established. And go ahead and ask this part, what is it you do for me? What's your job? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do for me? What's your highest hope or highest intention for me? And how long have you been doing this job for me? And if the part seems open, you may even want to ask it, how did you get this job? What was going on in my life that put you in this role? Seeing if this part would like to have you witness a bit of its origin story. Taking your time to really be with the part in any way that it wants to share. Do you like your job? Let the part speak to its job satisfaction. And then deepening that question by asking, is there anything else you would rather be doing if you didn't have to do this job? This is often a bit of a mind blow for our parts because they don't even realize that that's an option for them. And just even seeing if there's openness to doing something else. And if so, what might that be? And just seeing, is there anything more that this part wants you to find out about it right now, today, in this space? What more, if anything, does this part want to share with you about what it's been doing for you or anything else. And then let's go ahead and ask the part, what's it afraid would happen if it didn't do its job? What are its fears? It can also explain any of its fears beyond what it's afraid would happen if it didn't do its job. Does it have any other fears it wants you to know? Any concerns? And as it shares these fears, just really notice, how are you feeling towards this part and what it's sharing? Seeing if you can capture a bit of open-heartedness or a lot of open-heartedness, some compassion for what it's been trying to do for you. If you're noticing other emotions or other parts of you beginning to emerge, gently ask them for a bit of space so that you can really stay connected to this target part. And if you're understanding what this part's been trying to do for you, go ahead and extend some validation to it, letting it know you get it, letting it know you're hearing it, you're seeing it. It's making sense to you, if that feels true to you. If it doesn't feel true, that's okay too. Just means other parts are probably confused a bit, and that's okay, very normal. And before we close this exercise, just see if there's anything else this part needs or wants to share with you today in this space. Reminding it that this doesn't have to be the last time you connect with it. And my greatest hope for you all is that it's not the last time you connect with this part or any of your other parts. Just reassure it that you can deepen the connection at another point. And then, as we always do, go ahead and extend as authentic and heartfelt of a form of gratitude or appreciation to this part or any other parts that perhaps offered space, wisdom, gifts, information, thanking them. And then when that feels complete and not a moment sooner, you can go ahead and come back out into this shared big world that we all inhabit together. And from my system to yours, thank you so much for playing in the world of IFS and for getting to know a part.
Lovely. Nice. Thanks, Amy. I hope everybody enjoyed that as much as I did. I will say, just before we close, one of my favorite parts is that closing of like just like the wrap up. I mean, I love all of it, but that wrap up is always, I think, a really vital part for my system to like really actually calm. We get to know each other and all of that. And I think, a lot of the systems that I have internally struggle with like this underlying abandonment, neglect stuff. And so like that like really wholesome closing always, I like always have like almost a secondary calm wash over me.
So. Yeah, no, I love that word, wholesome. It's like a wholesome, earnest, genuine goodbye, like see you later, right? Like, and it really ritualizes it in a way that I think brings a lot of meaning to our system, and it feels really important to me too.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for guiding us through that. I hope anybody listening really enjoyed, and please, Amy already said this, but you can use this, again, not as therapy, but you can use this to really, really, really get to know your parts. There were times, where it was very explicitly stated that if a part is consenting and wants to go into some of the origin story, take out a piece of pen and paper, pause, like do some work, like really listen and get to know. It's a beautiful practice and is really only helpful. And if you do get a little deep and need to pause, there's also nothing like actually pause the entire practice until maybe a therapy session. There's also nothing wrong with that. Like pace and tempo, pace, tempo, and
consent.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Amy, thank you for sharing your gifts with us. As always, very, very wonderful. Everybody keep tuning in to the Turning In podcast. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is @TurningInPod. And leave us a like and or review on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else you listen to podcasts. It really, really helps us a lot. And we will keep doing our thing.